Hi, Bob. Thanks for making time today for us. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing well. We're within a week from the start of Arkansas football. The media, though, is in a place where I guess feels a little bit odd because you're in the middle of a 4-day stretch where you don't get any media availability. There's no one to talk to as far as Arkansas football is concerned. You get Coach Pittman on Monday, and then that's really when the real rhythm of the football season starts for you guys and probably for the team as well. So it's our last Friday without football, Bob. It's all here right in front of us. Kenny Payne yesterday, huh? Can you give us a little window into what you might be working on?
Actually, it was some stuff for Blue Ribbon.
Very good. Basketball's getting a little bit more talk than usual this time of the year, too. Got our schedule out, got our the rumors about NIL. Hey, when you saw this thing about $8 million, I don't know if you'd seen that. Matt Norlander had said this yesterday on the Morning Rush. He guessed $8 million, maybe more, for the Arkansas basketball roster in terms of NIL. Can't be a surprise. When John Calipari took the job, he would not have taken the job had NIL not been in the right position.
Yeah, I mean, he had, even though obviously things had not been up to par, so to speak, Kentucky the last couple of years of those first-round NCAA tournament losses. He had a huge contract at Kentucky, and I agree he would not have come here. Now, I don't know exactly what the NIL situation is. I think it's probably pretty good. I did see the CBS, Matt Norlander and Gary Parrish, they've kind of been doing this series of polling a lot of different, like they said, over 100 college coaches. Some were, they didn't identify them because, to get honest answers, they basically promised anonymity, but they said some of them were, the biggest names in the game, and some of them were like assistant coaches at mid-majors or maybe low majors. So, big variety across the spectrum of the coaching spectrum. But one of them was that Cal had been the pretty strong favorite as the best off-season hire. He'd gotten 47% of the vote from the coaches, and I think Dusty May, the new Michigan coach from FAU, had gotten 20%. And so it wasn't like Cal got 80%, but he got basically twice as much as anybody else. And then another question they asked was who do they think has the best, I think maybe they worded the NIL awards test, but it's subjective. I mean, they didn't really have any data to back it up. And of course, NIL, we could FOI it, say what everybody's saying, but it's not something you can do. But Arkansas, I think they asked people to pick the top three, and it was Arkansas, Kansas, and it was the third one, Louisville, maybe? I'm trying to remember. But the first two were definitely Arkansas and Kansas. And that's interesting, but again, it's subjective. It's the coach's opinion. It's what they believe. They don't really know. You probably hear things out on the recruiting trail or whatever, or you hear things from players, or you hear things from players' agents, but how much of that is a player's agent trying to basically get school A to bid against school B? Those things, and I think Arkansas probably does have a pretty big NIL, fund for basketball, but I think you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt when you don't have, the exact numbers there to compare.
With Coach Cal and Arkansas, and we're getting these blue chip prospects now. I mean, who are the top 3, top 4 contenders in the SEC next year?
Well, I tell you, the SEC is going to be tough. And you look at Arkansas's recruiting class, and it's probably as good a recruiting class as, Arkansas has ever had. I remember we made such a big deal when Eric, and deservedly so, when Eric Musselman brought in 3 McDonald's All-Americans in the one class with Nick Smith and Anthony Black and Jordan Walsh. And, Cal's got 2 McDonald's All-Americans. He flipped from Kentucky, and then another freshman who, he talked about Boogie Fland and Carter Knox, and then Billy Richmond is another. He won a McDonald's All-American, but very highly regarded, probably top 40 type guy. But he didn't bring in like 7 freshmen, like, top flight freshmen like he did at Kentucky. He's talked about how with the portal and NIL, you need to, go out go out and get older guys. So he's got some veteran guys who were with him at Kentucky, or sophomores at least, and a junior. And he went and got Adu, the big man from Tennessee, was all SEC first teamer, and he got Trevor Brazil to stay. And I think Trevor, if he can stay healthy, that's a big if, because he's had struggles with his injuries, knee especially. But hopefully he can stay healthy. If he does, I think he have a big year. But yeah, he brought in a great class. But if you look at the preseason polls, Alabama's pretty much 2 or 3. They're right up there. People are expecting Auburn to be really tough. Tennessee, I think Kentucky, we'll see how they do under Mark Pope. But I think you probably put Arkansas probably in the top 3 or 4. But it's not like they're just heading, at least, or we'll see how it plays out. So, but I think it's going to be very competitive in the ACC.
Hey, Bob, one
14-4, something like that.
Let's switch over to football here for a moment, Bob. One position group that I used the word concern, but maybe that wouldn't have been the right word. It was just a lot of unknown, was the linebacker group. And Travis Williams was up speaking to the media on Wednesday, and, they're saying all the right things about the guys that have been added through the spring portal season, thinking of Steven Dix, Larry Worth. There's even guys like Anthony Switzer coming out of the portal during spring ball, Danny Salee, who was up at the defensive line from BYU. And, the coaches talked openly about, we probably need to add on the defensive side, specifically at linebacker in the portal season, the spring portal season. But it seems that sometimes you wonder about things that are said, just like you're talking about the NIL and what coaches are saying and their motivation behind it. But they're saying all the right things about the linebacker position, and right now it seems they're pretty comfortable with the depth they have there.
Yeah, they feel good. They lost a lot of guys in the portal. So Brad sophomore is really among the returnees is the guy that's running. He's been running first team with Xavier Sorey, who's a transfer from Georgia. Who he had started experience at Georgia. Sorey did. He started the SEC championship game against Alabama, but Georgia's just so loaded that I'm sure he was going to play there because he had played there the last couple of years. But I think he wanted to go somewhere he could be the guy, be the unquestioned starter, all that stuff. And so he came to Arkansas. But if you played at Georgia and if you started Georgia, I think you're pretty good. So he was a nice pickup. And then a guy like Steven Dix, he comes in from Marshall where he had a big year, but he'd been at Florida State. And he had started there, and then he got hurt. And he was real open about why he left Florida State. He basically said he got hurt, had a torn labrum, and then he talked to his coaches, and they basically said, look, if you want to go, be a starter, I'm paraphrasing here, you probably need to go somewhere else. I mean, they weren't kicking him off the team or anything, but they basically said, if you want to play regularly, you probably need to look for another place. And he said he appreciated the honesty. And you got Anthony Switzer, who's a guy who started at, was off to his career at Arkansas State, and then he's been at Utah State where he started and was very productive, and now he's come in, and you mentioned, Worth, who's a guy that, some of these guys can play nickel or safety, linebacker, and I'm talking about Switzer and Worth in particular, and Travis was kind of coy, not kind of, he just basically didn't want to say how he's going to use them, which I get. He doesn't want opponents to know. But, yeah, I think they feel pretty good about that. But, this time of year where everybody feels good about everything, right? So we'll see how that goes. But on paper, it looks like they did a pretty good job of restocking the room.
Well, Sorey is the one that I'm really interested to watch him because I view him kind of the same way that I view Drew Sanders, though I'm not sure – exactly what the recruiting battles were when he came out of high school and everything. But I viewed Sanders the same way as Sorey. And you just mentioned, if you can start the SEC championship game for Georgia, you should be able to play almost anywhere. And with Sanders, I know it was a different thing. He wanted to play a different position or at least different spot at linebacker. Alabama wasn't going to let him. And coming to Arkansas allowed him to show what he could do to the NFL scouts, and he had a great final season. I'm kind of expecting not the same kind of production necessarily, but almost the same kind of athlete with Xavier and Sorey.
Well, like say. I mean, he's a high level guy, you know, and I'm sure he's really hungry to get to play, you know, every down in most games, and show his productivity and show he made the right choice. The players talk about, you know, what good lateral quickness he has, and obviously you need to be able to do that sideline to sideline linebacker. But yeah, he's a guy you get excited about, because it wasn't like he was languishing on the bench at Georgia. Now he didn't have 100 tackles either, but you know, he's a guy that I think has a high upside. He's a junior. He's got 2 years left. If he has a big year, maybe he goes in the draft. Who knows? That would be a nice problem to have, right? If he has a good enough year that he thinks he's going to be a high draft pick. But yeah, he's a nice pick. I mean, he's a guy Travis Williams had recruited previously, so they had a relationship, and yeah, it seems like he's fit in pretty well.
Bob, we'll leave it there. Thanks again for making time for us today. And next week, it'll be game day, and we can preview a football game a little bit. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good, man. You guys.
Thanks, Bob.
Bob Holt, Democrat-Gazette, with us today on Friday, but usually with us on Thursday.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.